Greetings, Regenerates. This is Dave from Regen and Loa Labs. Good to see y'all this morning. Can y'all hear me? Give me a little icon, thumbs up, avatar,
I hear
bump,
you,
fist
Dave.
bump.
I
Okay,
hear you.
good. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How are things in your part of the world, Rebecca? Where are you at right now?
They're
In
chilly.
Tennessee?
Yeah, I'm looking at some chilly Smoky Mountains. Got a little snow on the top, but sunny and clear. How's California?
It is beautiful. I love this time of year. Yeah, it's sunny and it's in the like 60s, 50s and 60s. But lots of big sun and pretty sunsets, and yeah, it's this is our quote unquote moving into our cool time, Santa Barbara style it is. But yeah, it's feeling good. I'm really excited to dig in today. Becca, thanks for hosting us a discussion today. We've got Giselle from our science team, a longtime friend.
Morning.
Good morning, Giselle. Actually, tell us how the weather is there because that's always a fun way to start it. How are things there? You said raining, cats, and dogs, I think this morning I saw you post.
Yeah, now it's sunny, so it's a little bit of a spring crazy weather in the Atlantic coast of Argentina. So we are approaching summer over here, but it's still cold as if we were in July or something like that. So weird spring we have this time.
Got it. All right. Well, good. Well, Becca, do you want to guide us? I know we're going to be digging into some of the incredible work going on with our science team. I know you wanted to pop in on some registry stuff, and maybe actually just to start, I just want to give a quick heads up as people are filing in, if you don't mind, Becca, on the Cosmos Zero,
Yeah,
what's
perfect.
moving
I
there.
was gonna say, yeah.
Cool. So for those of you not following along our Twitter account, yesterday we announced a multi-chain campaign to go carbon neutral within the Cosmos ecosystem. We have a Telegram channel to help capture that energy. We're working with multiple validators, multiple protocols, all of whom are in unison moving proposals into common or posts into Commonwealth. Pardon me, into Commonwealth for community discussion about offsetting their carbon footprint using the Nature Carbon Ton, which is a new nature-based carbon credit product that's already been introduced. It's over in the Polygon ecosystem and will soon be bridged over to regens in the Cosmos ecosystem via osmosis in January. And so we're trying this multi-chain campaign to get people to offset their carbon footprint, and we've done the measurements based on validator set size. So which is really between validator sets of like 75 all the way to 125. You're using or a typical proof of stake protocol within the Cosmos ecosystem is using something between 3,000 to 6,000 tons of carbon or offsetting or emitting that amount of carbon per year, and and nature carbon tons for better or for worse are a pretty high quality carbon product. And they're incredibly inexpensive right now. They're going to be somewhere between like $2, $2.50, because of just some of the nature of them kind of coming one way and on chain, and not having arbitrage opportunities yet. So it's a really inexpensive time to offset your carbon footprint if you're a Cosmos chain. And looking forward to also, again, it's going to herald the usher in the Nature Carbon Ton, an on-chain IBC ready carbon product into the Cosmos ecosystem, which is going to be very exciting. So that's coming up here pretty soon. But we've already got, I think we've got something in the range of like 10 to 12 chains are already in some version of working on their Commonwealth proposal, or getting on-chain proposals up. So it's in a lot of ways, it's one of the first non-parameter upgrade multi-chain campaigns that's happening in Cosmos that I've seen. where multiple chains are essentially being like, hey, we all agree across the Cosmos ecosystem, and it's a pretty raucous, independent, sovereign place, and we're getting a really wonderful uptake of people being interested, communities being interested in annually offsetting their carbon footprint. So check out, if you want more details, check out the Twitter posts that we put up yesterday at Regen Network, talking about this campaign. We'd love your support amplifying it and building buzz, because often what Cosmos does will find its way into other communities as well, and we love, regardless of your Polygon, whether you're in Ripple or wherever you're at, we're looking for ecosystems to work on carbon offsetting at the protocol level wherever possible. So that's an update. I'm happy to take questions if people have any questions about the Cosmos Zero campaign and kind of how we're approaching it. But yeah, I'm really excited about it, especially during a week where in governance, at least in the Cosmos ecosystem, it was pretty tumultuous time with a big discussion around proposal 82, that was a widely discussed proposal, and it failed around the future vision of Atom. And I know a lot of people are down on governance, but it was a good reminder that there's a beauty to it as well in the chaos, and bringing something like this to really unify multiple chains around a mission is very possible. So pretty bullish on that, pretty excited. So, okay.
Also want to drop that there's
yeah.
a badge, how could we not have a badge to this as well? Like, get your carbon neutral badge. Everybody wants one. So
Totally. Yeah, there's a badge, and actually we're going to unveil, I think this week or next. We've been working with some great artists over at Osmosis, and we have a regen avatar who's going to be helping shepherd all of the different the different protocols in their journey to becoming carbon neutral in a kind of a game fashion. It's almost like Candyland, and this regen avatar, very cool. She is, I think, a great representative of the future of carbon offsetting for the Regen and Cosmos ecosystem. So look forward to that. Lots of fun things moving on that front. But all of this is underpinned by the depth of work we've got going in the Regen Network development team. Really exciting stuff. Becca, do you want to pick up where I'm leaving off and kind of guide us into the next section of the Regenerati News Hour?
Totally. And also picking up on the beauty and the chaos, because that's certainly what it feels like across the board, doing this work, that in the one sense, you're literally exploring how we can capture nature, whether in data or methodologies or, community work. And that is beautiful and chaotic. So we'll keep that thread moving today, I'm sure. But it's Giselle and I here, just a couple of science nerds that are going to share with you great stuff that's been going on with Regen Science, and it's all, most of it is quite woven with registry work as well. So we're looking at not just the research and the tooling and the data work that's being done, but how all of that touches on these different types of eco credit methodologies coming out. So there'll be some weaving back and forth between there. But what I think we'll do for today is start with an overview, like some of the big ticket things that are moving right now with our awesome small team, and then let Giselle dig in and share specifically around Regen lands and some cool stuff going on there. And then maybe on the proposal also, Giselle, kind of up to you. And then if, depending on like time, I think it'll be great to go in with some questions and see where you guys are at. And we also have Ned here, so we can flee into environmental stewardship more as well. So we can take this kind of whatever route. The big ticket items are really kind of from top to bottom are around, first is origination of credits. So we've got a large volume of credits that are going to be on chain. here in the next quarter or two. We're looking at credits that are coming from holistically managed rangelands in Argentina, and really working through final nuts and bolts pieces around a significant volume of credits there from a methodology that is similar to carbon plus grasslands, but it's really great to see kind of the forking and different applications of science for that ecosystem type, that region. The other is impact ag. The credits coming from carbon plus grasslands. So these are also holistically managed rangelands out of Australia. So more credits coming out there. And all of this is really putting in motion and activating the marketplace more. So landing some of these credits that are coming from Regen Registry and seeing how they move on the marketplace. So lots to look forward to there. There are, just as always, just so much interest moving around, originating credits and around different methodologies. And it's really cool to see in particular, and Giselle is really stewarding a lot of this in South America, in Argentina and Uruguay and Paraguay and the savory hubs there. And there's a lot of movement around grazing systems, which leads me to the next big ticket item, which is carbon plus grasslands. So this is kind of the first flagship methodology from Regen, and it's something that is evolving just like everything else at Regen. So we've got that methodology is going through formal peer review now, and hopefully going to be wrapping at the end of November, early December, which is really exciting. I mean, it's passing a threshold saying that here, this is ready, community ready for you to use, ready for you to manage, projects from. And I think that'll be really nice to have as a kind of a gift to give to get projects moving. And we are really excited to be working with Sequana as a monitor for that methodology. So it's like a key component to all of this work is you can create an incredible methodology, but we have to have all these other key actors out there in the world, like these monitors that are using remote sensing technology to enact the methodology itself. So key partners like that, as well as Phoenix in Argentina, becoming a monitor for the methodology there. So a lot of folks that we're collaborating with deeply and learning alongside and trying to ask questions with as we put that methodology into motion. The next is environmental stewardship. I'll touch on it briefly because we got the man Ned here that can go in deep. But I really enjoyed watching this unfold and working specifically on a project up in White River, the White River Natural Resource Conservation District up in Vermont, is an example of really this practice-based methodological approach. So let's move away from outcomes. Let's look at how to incentivize practices themselves. Because we know already in certain areas of the world with certain practices that they are indeed regenerative. So let's stop messing around and get right to the practices themselves. And so the pilot for the environmental stewardship initiative is FiberShed, which is a sheep grazing and vineyard systems methodology, and that's currently undergoing peer review. So it's great to be moving these things out of our collective Regen brain and into a peer review brain that then can be used by projects. And then the White River Conservation District kind of pilot concept is we're working with the farming community there and seeing how a practice-based methodology can support regenerative practices with smaller farms there that kind of sits next to state and federal funding around kind of conservation programming. So we're really getting into the weeds and seeing how like where the overlap is, where the opportunities are. Lots to be learned there, but pretty exciting to be trying to dig into some public-private partnerships there. Then we have a lot moving with other strategic partnerships that is exciting to see unfold with World Resource Institute, exploring just different oversections about region lands with suitability maps and carbon sequestration. So just really deep exploring of potentials there. And then we've got a lot moving again, kind of with in South America, in Paraguay in particular, with savory work and seeing how to like mobilize the systems that they already have in place, and like leaning from kind of the current holistic management work to potential carbon credits. So we've always known that there's a lot there between savory and carbon plus grassland. So it's great to be sensing into that more within that. Last two big ticket items that I want to be able to share. DeSci, decentralized science, or reSci, regenerative science. The Gitcoin or grant round around reSci was super successful, really great. Ned leading that alongside Sage, and the question of, what does a regenerative science DAO group look like, and how can they really unlock potential around peer review work, like unlock the ability of researchers and academics to be more involved outside of the constraints of academia in these really important works, peer review and input on methodologies. And there's a lot to be said for that work. So we can also dig into that depending on where questions go. But more to like as a last ticket, I want to share about methodologies that we're super proud and excited to see moving through kind of last stages of methodology development. So we've got 3 methodologies that have been approved through our registry internal review process, and they're moving into an external peer review. And those are Colson Carbon Trust, so Biochar, I'm not sure if Howard or others might be here, and Fibershed, the one that I mentioned earlier with sheep grazing and vineyard systems. And these methodologies are not only going through the peer review process, but really trialing what that process looks like for Regen registry and science. We recognize the pitfalls of peer review and the issues that it has, so we really want to make a positive and efficient process. And then we have some methodologies that we expect to be ready for peer review here by the end of the year. Courageous Lands, which is an agroforestry methodology. We have ERA Brazil, which is a biodiversity methodology. So we've got quite a few that are just continuing to move along. And what all of this means is just more regenerative work living in the marketplace as eco credits, things to get excited about and support. So the segue for Giselle to be able to share is about Regen Lands and kind of the status. We've got some really great collaborations going there with Skidmore University and the Soil Inventory Project team. I was actually just touching base with the White Buffalo Land Trust team out in California this past week, and they were talking about how the Soil Inventory Project had just collected some great data out in that project looking at carbon sequestration in like a Mediterranean climate. So there's always a lot going on, but I want to give time for Giselle and Ned, if you're down, to dig in a layer deeper into kind of what's most exciting for you all right now about all of the things going on. Take your pick. I'll pass to you, Giselle.
Okay, well, that was certainly a lot. So yeah, I would try to frame what I'm thinking about when I hear all the things that we are working on, and all the challenges and all the barriers that we are trying to cope with when we do this. Like, why are we getting so deeply involved in starting with developing our own methodology for carbon plus grasslands and moving towards generating a full community for the development of methodologies? Because that was one of the main barriers we saw when we understood that the main challenge to bring supply of credits, for instance, was not a lack of people doing the right thing in the land. It was more about people not having access to the right methodology, or not knowing how to enter into this world of the voluntary carbon markets. So we are trying to lower the barriers of entry. One thing is to have a lot of methodologies, not just one. So the roots methodology, for instance, is the one you were mentioning for holistic management. in Argentina, which is similar to the Carbon Plus, but it states a little bit the baseline, and it's not using remote sensing, but has a high accuracy of results. The more opportunities and the more quality of methods we have to offer to the land stewards and the project developers, that certainly helps. And you were mentioning the Regen Lands. The Regen Lands is a project that I started thinking about like 4 years ago or more, when I understood that there was a lack of understanding of what the opportunities are and what the maybe the upfront costs from entering a different or a certain crediting project, which relates to the potential of the land to sequester carbon or to produce any outcome that can be turned into a credit. So when digging into the literature, what I found is that for regenerative practices in particular, all the information around potential sequestration credits was absent or was limited to global averages. So there's no kind of way to understand what's the potential sequestration of carbon in the soil of a specific rangeland located here in Argentina or in the US, unless you have done your job of taking samples in advance, or you have several areas around your land that had been sampled, so you might get an idea, or if you have some model that has been calibrated for your land, which is more likely to happen maybe in the US, but for the rest of the world, we don't have that. Most of the models that are used to estimate based on all the pedologic and management factors that we are used to are not calibrated for outside the United States. So that was a huge barrier. And mostly in some countries like mine, where you have a lot of inflation and people don't have like steady economics to be relying on. So that adds a lot of uncertainty because they are not being able to estimate what's their potential carbon sequestration. So they end up not enrolling into any measurements or also, because of the lack of understanding of the potentials, there's a lack of pre-finance opportunities that could come if there was an understanding of a piece of land having a great potential. And also, because we don't know where in the world there's a high potential of sequestration and where is a very low potential of carbon sequestration, so that maybe other outcomes are more important or relevant for that piece of land. Because we don't have that map, we cannot understand when it makes sense or make it or worth the effort to collect all the data just for carbon or to enroll into carbon credits as opposed to moving to something else like biodiversity credits or water holding capacity or reduction of risk of fires or whatever that your property could be contributing to. So I think that's, all that information is crucial and also beyond what we can use for estimating for carbon credits to estimate what is the revenue from a project, and on that we moving beyond from there, we don't have a clear understanding in science of what it means to do regeneration, where and how. Like how much regeneration in order to move the clock, I would say, for to battle climate change. Where should we put more effort in transitioning towards regenerative management? What's the minimum amount of land now under business as usual that needs to transition under the different climate scenarios in order to have some reduction of the increase in the temperatures. Those or a significant reduction in the whole greenhouse gas emissions. Those are questions that the science cannot answer unless we generate maps and more granular information about the potential outcomes of the regenerative practices in each piece of the world. And because I'm a fanatic of the GIS and I love creating maps, the way I thought about this was to generate a user interface that's a mapping interface based on the best information we can find from scientific literature to date about all the regenerative managements, their suitability, put some experts to work on the thresholds for the suitability of the different regenerative managements in different conditions of soils, climates, and topography. And from there, generate suitability maps with risks associated in terms of the resilience of each management practice in each piece of land. And on the top of that, build outcome layers, outcome maps, starting with carbon and then moving into other areas. So I can go deeper into that. I'm not sure. I want to just check if this is of interest of the audience and if it's clear enough. And I can go deeper in what the Regen Lands concretely is and what the MVP is about, what that we have already started with the Skidmore University, the TSIP group, and TGI. So I can go deeper into that.
Giselle, do you want to share for a second about each of those kind of partners that's involved? Because I think it's really interesting that this was really like born out of specific need that we were observing, but that there are a lot of different iterations of estimations around carbon sequestration, but none that are quite going to execute it like this. So would you want to share for a minute about TSIP and TGI and Skidmore's involvement?
Yes, so TGI with Tim Tenson, we have been talking about this project for more than 1 year. He's totally, all the TGI team is totally involved because they have worked in suitability mapping for agroforestry in different areas of the world, and they see the potential of having this information super relevant for all the stakeholders willing to get involved into regeneration and into credits once they are doing the regeneration. So that's one. Then also the open team, I know Dorn, and in general, the open team is highly interested in developing this and having this information. TSIP, it's a company that it's also part of the Skidmore College, the Skidmore University, and they have a long trajectory working on sampling and spectroscopy of soil samples on the field, and they are interested in helping us with improving the maps, along with other groups working on more specific in the geospatial geostatistics, so that we can improve models. So I'll start with this. What we have done so far is we compiled all the bibliography I could find until 2019, because that's when I was creating this information. We compiled internally in the science team a lot of papers, more than 120, related to regenerative cattle management, improved grazing, AMP grazing, and any improved grazing management practice. And I collected the geolocation of those studies, the number of years, the duration of the studies or the experiments, and the outcome sequestration rates that they got from the implementation of those practices in those specific areas of the world. Most of the studies are located in the United States, but I got information from other areas. And what I generated, it was an empirical model extracting a lot of variables in GIS from global or regional data sets, like what was the soil in a specific point where the study was taking place, what was the soil type, what was the topography, what was the climate, what was the rainfall in history, what was, all those clay content, silt content, or any variables, topographic variables like slopes or wetness indices, everything that's related to the distribution of the carbon in the landscape, or to higher or lower values of sequestration. And from that information, like doing a multi-regression stepwise analysis, I got some of the main explanatory variables for the distribution of the different rates that I found. So this is a kind of the first step. Of course, it's not perfect. It's far from perfect. The compilation of data could be improved a lot, because this is until 2019, and the number of papers that are published around regenerative management practices luckily are exponential. So what I'm doing now with the Skidmore University and the TSIP team in particular is they hired 2 students to be working on the review of the literature, all the review that we already did, and new papers that came in since 2019. And with the improved database, we are going to do something more sophisticated in terms of geospatial analysis afterwards. So with that, we are expecting to have a first global map of potential sequestration rates in grazing systems. That it's going to be much better than a global average. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to highlight areas where we don't have enough data to do any predictions, so that we need to focus in the collection of data. Areas where we have a high or medium certainty for estimating the sequestration potentials, and areas where maybe the accuracy is very low, so we cannot rely on results and we need to collect more data. But it will certainly help to start getting a sense, at least qualitatively, of the high potential areas or low potential areas for carbon sequestration. So once we have this, the expectation is that we are going to replicate the effort for all the regenerative management practices and start expanding from carbon towards all the other metrics, like runoff, nutrient reduction, or water quality increase, or I don't know, risks reduction for droughts, floods, depending on management, all that.
So many different applications. I get so excited about this particular work because it takes me back to just the over a year and a half ago, just spending all this time talking to land stewards. And I think this has come up in conversations too with Ed. I see you out there, where there's just so many clear needs, the lines that point to that singular need of being able to make that feasibility assessment alone, not even taking into account what science can gain from it, just our understanding of regenerative work. So it's great to see this moving. I think having the soil inventory project that is TSIP involved is really exciting, and having these researchers. So yeah, it's great to see that moving in 2023. I think it would be great to see if Ned, if you want to come up and share about either DSI RESI or about environmental stewardship. It could be cool to jam on that for a minute before leaving about 15 or 20 minutes for questions. So if you're willing, come up, and if you aren't, I can take it from there. Let's see if we'll get him up. But while he's making a decision or coming up, the work on environmental stewardship is really interesting, and I want to be able to make an open invite to anyone that's here or knows of any others that are interested in joining. We have open calls to just explore the current projects that are creating practice-based methodologies. Ned, while you're getting hooked up, I was sharing about the open calls. And for instance, the next one that's going to be on November 29th, GVK, a group out of India with regenerative cotton, is going to be sharing about geotagging protocols that they've created. And it's a great opportunity to learn about what is actually happening with the Environmental Stewardship Initiative. What are examples of practice-based work going on? What are the key questions around metrics and indices and buyers? Like, what are those key questions that are moving? So big invitation to come and join those open calls. I'll cede the floor. Ned, share, speak whatever it is that you'd like to.
All right, thanks, Becca. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. I think what Becca said is we'll be meeting on the 29th, and if you're interested, please send a message to either myself or Becca, and we'll hook you up with the Zoom link. We're hopefully going to be sending out an email in the next day or two with that information. So if you're already on the mailing list, you don't need to do that. But if you are not on the mailing list, please contact us, and we'll get you set up with the information. I think most of you do have heard of the Environmental Stewardship Initiative, and that's, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's basically an alternative to carbon credits because, carbon credits are just one, small, well, actually it's fairly big, I guess, but it's one portion of the market, but there's so much more, that's related to ecosystem function or ecosystem health. And that's where environmental stewardship methodologies are going to be coming in. So if you're interested in this, or you're thinking of something that's outside of the carbon sequestration realm, please get in touch. We're always looking for people that have some innovative ideas and interested in methodologies or implementing projects. As far as the DSI, RESI, not a whole lot's been going on in the last few weeks, but we're trying to set up, basically trying to create a framework within the organization. And one of the top priorities is going to be, trying to figure out how we can help Regen Network with the peer reviews, the peer review process of methodologies. And another related project that I'm just now starting to work on, and if anybody's interested in this, please contact me. It'd be great to have some other brains thinking on this, but starting to map out the ecosystem regeneration landscape. So trying to figure out who's doing what, both from the research, but also the applied areas. So companies or people that are working on ecosystem regeneration. Also, initially focusing a lot on literature reviews to see what has been published about practices that lead to improved ecosystem function, and connect those practices to actual outcomes. How much has that been done in the literature? What's the state of the practice or state of the art in that area? See if we can identify some gaps. So I'm going to be working on a graph database right now. I'm thinking of starting in Neo4j if that resonates with anybody. But I want to create just a demo graph database to show what some of the potential is. And it feels like the end of the year is tomorrow almost. So my guess is this isn't going to happen until January. But if people are interested, please reach out. I would love to have other people thinking about this with me. So that's all I've got for now. But I'm looking, if anybody has questions about the environmental stewardship or the DSI stuff, please bring it up. Thanks.
Nice, Ned. I want to give some time for questions. I also want to do a quick share of how these various science pieces fit into the registry work that's coming out, just the methodologies, but really the phase that we're in. And we're trying to bring these methodologies to life, and bring them through these final stages, while also building out the key infrastructure that underlies all of the work. So key infrastructure around tools to assess sequestration with regen lands, tools to assess ecological regenerative work that's going on in the world, and then initiatives like environmental stewardship that's enabling other methodologies that aren't able to exist in other registries to exist in regen registries. So I find that beauty and chaos working between all of that work, as we're just, I think, really trying to stay true to our intuitions and what we're observing as needs and blockers in the space. So love hearing all of the, I don't know, just having a moment to put it all together is really great. So I would love, I mean, if folks have questions, we'd love to bring you up to answer, or ideas, reflections. I see some familiar faces out there. I see you, Justin and Timo and Ed. So feel free to hop on up with any questions. We'll give some folks some time. I realize that the first round of sharing all of the things was really bloody fast. So sorry about that. I'm on a roll today, but I'm ready to hear about anything. Any questions that might come up? Seems like y'all are pretty quiet today. That's all right. In the meantime, I think it would be cool to think about kind of what are the big like the big questions that we're struggling with right now and trying to answer. So I think that'll be a good meantime thing. Oh, sweet. All right. We got a question up here. Del Rey, hit us. What you got?
Hey there, happy Thursday. Hope you're feeling okay. So, it's not a question, but rather maybe a suggestion on this Cosmos Zero mission that I'm so looking forward to. Uh, I just joined the Telegram and asked a few questions. I believe it's super important that you share that link around more often so people interested can join and we can like have a better coordination on how we're gonna work on these proposals. I saw somebody already ask like, "Hey, who is doing the Cosmos Hub proposal?" And I believe that's good. That way everybody can focus on different proposals, and we make sure that we don't overlap with ourselves, right? So just wanted to say that.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. I can speak to that just briefly.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be increasing. I mean, literally, that Telegram group just started, and we're certainly looking to decentralize the leadership around bringing the Cosmos Zero campaign across existing chains, and obviously the kind of Cambrian explosion of chains that is happening in the Cosmos ecosystem. So I think we're very early stage with everybody, and I think it's a little chaotic, but we'll avail some more tracking tools so people can see exactly which validators are sponsoring which proposals where. So just stay tuned. We actually have that document internal. We just gotta set it up for external usage. But yeah, we're pretty excited, pretty bullish, and as always, we really appreciate you leaning in and supporting Regen's efforts around the ecosystem. You're a great friend of the network. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Del Rey. Timo, what you got? What questions on your mind or thoughts?
Hey everybody, nice to see the familiar faces here. Two questions. One, if Giselle's still on, where the Regen Lands MVP is. Like, is it just a mock-up? Is it actually a working database? I think there's a lot of synergy that Basin and Regen could work on there with real estate and property and whatnot. And then number two, maybe it's a question for Rebecca or for Ned regarding methodologies that are more wide than deep. It seems like most of the stuff that's coming through the pike is really narrowly focused on a certain methodology, or just on carbon or just on pollination. Back in the spring, we had talked about more of a breadth, like a width type methodology, more of a holistic methodology. And that's what we've been working on at Basin. We're calling it the Basin Stack. But I'm just wondering if anyone is thinking through that, or if there's been any more progress on it. Just throw it out there, and we're open to collab on that if Regen wants to. Just haven't heard much lately.
Yeah, Timo, I'm appreciating your question and your patience. I think with us, we're such a small team, and I think we would love to be doing all of the things, and love the work that you guys are doing. And I think particularly the structural questions that you're asking are really important and at a great moment. So don't let our being in a quiet hole deter you from our support. I mean, we're really thinking through a lot of the same things, and I think my first response is that we're about kind of the difference between kind of targeted methodology and holistic ones, is that we're trying to build out a structure that's flexible and composable to where there isn't kind of one methodology that holds a lot of different pieces, but that someone could come in and kind of put different methodologies together to create something that works for themselves, so that it ends up kind of enabling more iteration instead of redundancy. And so if I imagine a methodology that would encompass, maybe it would be soil health and, watershed quality, and maybe it would also be touching on biodiversity, those kinds of things, then it really, the way that we framed it is making it to where you can do whatever think is applicable, making that structure open enough. But what I imagine would happen is one piece of that method would end up needing to be a separate credit type anyways, given that credit class structure. So really that methodology is the science. So if you have let's say like an overarching ocean conservation framework, you might have multiple methodologies within that. Maybe one is focused on one scientific piece and one is focused on another, and then you have multiple credit classes even below that result in different credit types. It's kind of how that structure relates to what you are conceiving of. So I personally, like, I would love to dig in and see and get like an update and hear where you guys are at with structuring, because we want to build all of the registry infrastructure to make whatever you're trying to do possible. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about what you have in mind, and then give like Giselle and Ned if you guys want to respond too.
Should I respond, or is Timo going to keep answering? Maybe.
Yeah, up to y'all. Timo, do you want to offer anything else, or?
I think, yeah, Rebecca, the example I think you're alluding to with the marine, right, or the blue carbon is, and I'm going to butcher it, like the open earth or the one earth, that, yeah, like using multiple credit types in one methodology. That's something, that we're, So I love that offer of like, let's dig in and figure out how to make it work. I go back to how to do this quicker, right, at speed and scale. And I love Regen Network's approach to science and depth and data and, the thinking through like philosophically and whatnot. But it's like we're all busy, right? We all have families and things to do, and we need to solve the climate crisis. So I go back to like, okay, what's going to be faster, but still be credible, right, and legitimate? Like some of the stuff we worked on earlier in the year with your workshops, like. And so I use the two examples in commercial real estate. One is commercial real estate appraisal and valuation, and the other one is called cost segregation, which is a depreciation analysis where someone comes in and literally counts the doorknobs, counts the doors, counts the windows, calculates the square footage of the carpet, and does just a report. A commercial real estate appraisal is like 100 to 200 pages. It's not like a 3-page residential appraisal, but that can be done over the course of a month. And same with cost segregation, that can be done over the course of a week. And those reports are accepted by banks, they're accepted by the IRS, they're accepted by all these traditional government and institutional legacy groups. And so I think there's a play out of that playbook for us, like for all of us, right? And that's why the stewardship methodology is so intriguing, like with Ned and that work of like, how do we incentivize the practice, right? And it's not so much about the exact number of tons, but how do we, year by year by year, day by day by day, remove carbon and steward ecosystem services. So that's what we're after, is like, how do we do it faster, but still in a credible way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that balance is one that we all feel really strongly about. And particularly with the different practice-based approaches, we're seeing how differently they're each exploring that, in the different layers of tech that's being employed by each, and I think that yours really is a really particular example of lean and get something out there that's actually generating generating projects and incentives. So let's definitely dig into that more because I want like a full deep update and to like pull that concept out into that broader that broader space around the stewardship initiative. Ned, do you have anything that you want to respond to there?
Yeah, not really. I mean, just if you're looking for input, I mean, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to give input, and I love these more creative approaches. I think a lot of this is just figuring out the best way to do it and then making it happen. So you guys have the great ideas, and I'd like to help to the extent that I can, but you have to reach out to me somehow to at least get that started.
There's another component too that we're really working on now, which is just really trying to build out more of a community engagement approach around all of this work, so that it's less siloed conversations with our own team and more like really open between all of these different efforts and what's working, what's not working, and what ideas might help others. So that is in the works, and we would love to. I think, like Timo, you've really dialed in a lot of that. So I think we'd love to be able to collaborate more specifically on how to open up that, that collaborative work. Let's keep at it. I see we've got Eco Wealth that's up here, but I want to give Ed a chance to share also. Ed, what do you have on your mind?
Yeah, I want to share some news from the regenerative ag community. I don't think I mentioned it last week, but we have a first generation farmer from North Carolina who's been working on soil health. He doesn't have the best dirt, but he's obviously got some serious soil health going on. He just broke a 20-year record for non-irrigated corn that was obviously set by a conventional farm 20 years ago. It's been that long since that industry has improved on it. He shattered it. He had 459 plus bushels per acre. The old record was about 440. And so it's just serious proof that soil health and the practices of regenerative agriculture probably is going to be the solution to feeding the world in the future. So I just thought I'd share that. We don't really focus on extreme potential of yield, but when we get it, we're happy to see it. And we're hoping, I'm not sure whether it's going to happen, whether we're going to be able to get Stefan Van Vliet, who does a nutrient density and spectrum study on it, because that would be really cool too if we could determine not only did he have high yield, but he had some of the densest in nutrient value food being produced. So I just thought I'd share that. It's kind of exciting news within our community. Thank you.
No, thanks, Ed. That's so awesome, and I feel like really grounds all of this work, and like, this is actually what is happening, and it's not too far from me. So that's great to know that that's possible with the soils that we have here. Thanks for grounding us literally and figuratively as usual. In the last 5 minutes, looks like we have another request for a question. So we'll open up that and then we'll round things out. So
may I respond briefly to Timo about the MVP? I think there was a missing answer there. The state of the region lands. Right now, the MVP, we have outlined an MVP which is intended to generate this first global map of 2 layers. The first one is the suitability for all the improved grazing practices, to know in each pixel of the world where it's more suitable and where it's less, maybe where it's more risky to do it and less risky in terms of current climate and soil conditions and topography, but also in terms of future scenarios of climate change. So that's one layer. And the other layer is the carbon sequestration potential. So we are expecting to have something that it's based on literature, maybe not too granular, but at least, as I was saying, qualitative, to generate some classes of high, medium, low, or 5 classes of or categories. And if for some areas we can generate the ranges of potential values based on more accurate, areas with more data, that will also be something possible. And currently, we are in the phase of reviewing all the literature that is out there since 2019, which is the last time I reviewed, and finding more papers even from the first part of the study. And we are expecting to have to start working on the models maybe in a couple months, probably starting next year.
Thanks, Giselle. EcoWealth, we've got 3 minutes, so if you've got a question, you can pop up, and then we'll round things out.
Yeah. I just have a quick question. But first, I wanted to say, Ed, I hit you up on the Regen Discord. If you can discuss a little bit more about what you mentioned, and a special thanks to TMO for building in public. I love what he's doing. And then, Rebecca, what are you holding in your profile picture? That's my question.
Oh, I love it. I've never gotten that question. I like that you're the only one who maybe has ever cared. Thanks for asking. Part of my graduate research in soil science was testing seeding implements that had been designed for smallholders and testing them in a no-till environment, because they were purported to be able to be used by smallholders for no-till. And so I was testing them, and that implement there was a total piece of garbage. It did not work, and they were being given to smallholders throughout Lesotho, and we're not doing anyone any favors by giving them tools that won't help them. So that was my grad research along this journey of trying to answer questions around ecological degradation, human conflict, and soil loss and infertility. So thanks for asking.
Absolutely. That's probably the hardest picture in Regen in refi space, hands down.
Yeah, nice. Thanks so much. Well,
thank you too.
On that note, great to jam, you guys. I feel like there's always more to dig into. Feel free to tag us in more questions on Twitter. I love the idea of just generating more conversation around this work and what people are doing, and what are some of the blockers that we all have that we can work on together. So find me, Ned, Giselle, tag us on tweets or on Discord, and we'll keep the work moving. But I hope you all have a great day and a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Greetings. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. And I would propose for next time we maybe open the conversation for what it means to generate open source in order to move faster with science, and couple with the needs to tackle these climate change, right? Open source, synergies, collaboration, and open source, and what it takes to do it.
Thanks, Giselle.
Love it.
Bye, everybody. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.